Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We are part of Vertical Magazine's podcast network, alongside the Hangars Eat Podcast, the Helicopter Podcast, Vertical MRO Podcast, and the Valor Flight Crew Podcast. We have more podcasts coming, so when you get a chance, go to verticalhelicast.com to check out the latest and greatest. Now, coming up next in this Spotlight episode, we're not just here to highlight a company. We're bringing you an industry update on ARS rescue systems and what they're planning for the future. So please welcome our next guest, a man who shared stories with us in the last episode, the new Vice President of Training, Mr. Mike Martin. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. I am psyched. We're here at VERTICON 2025 in Dallas.
I know, man. It's been crazy.
Dude, it's been fun. This is like opening day one. It is legit.
Day one, just trying to get, I don't know if I'll even make it side to side. There's just so much going on.
Right? It's so fun. This is my favorite conference to come to, and I probably don't want to tell that to anybody at VERTICON because they'll be get a big head and stuff. But I love this show so much because you get to see all your friends that you haven't seen in a year.
Yeah.
It's like an annual reunion.
Yeah.
And we get to hang out around helicopters and stuff. It's great. Oh, I love it. So, but here, we're going to record a podcast live here.
Let's do it.
And this is going to be more than just a podcast. This is going to be a spotlight episode. And we are highlighting Air Rescue Systems, ARS. Mm-hmm. What's up? You guys are doing an ARS expansion.
Yes. A lot of expansion.
Dude, this is exciting because, actually, before we get into that, so everybody, this is Mike Martin. What's up? How you doing, Mike?
Going?
It's good, man. I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
Now, you and I already had a wonderful conversation about your career, epic stories of rescue, firefighting in Utah and California, and it was...
Been trying to keep busy, It was a good time, Went a little too long,
Right? So if anybody hasn't listened to that in particular episode, please go back. Go check that out because we had a great conversation. And articles I read, oh my gosh, just... The fact that you're taking your aircraft and helping surrounding states as well, plus the canyon rescue, dude, it's still freaking the climber. Oh, dude, I love it. I don't want to spoil it again here. I don't want to repeat it here, but go back and check out that episode.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on and did that with us. But so now the other thing about this,
here we are now,
right? It's I love this, man. So one of the cool things about this, we actually put a little shout out to everybody out there, and they wanted to hear more about ARS and what the upcoming stuff is. So I have a whole bunch of questions here throughout the audience and whatnot. But the first one, because it's funny, and that's from @Helicopter Trunk Monkey.
Sounds familiar.
I know that guy.
I know that guy.
He might have been on this podcast as well, right? All right. He wants to know, is Helicopter Trunk Monkey your favorite?
No, okay. Don't dime me out on another show. That's just rude.
Yeah, that's
Come on,
not cool.
That's a trap.
That is.
I'm gonna say check them out. They're awesome. And I'm gonna leave it right there. He's got some great stuff on there. It's funny. But I'm not falling for that trap.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Come on, Mike. Oh, did I drop his name?
No. Mike.
Oh, I freaking love that guy. So, all right, let's hear about ARS right now. So, for those that don't know, ARS is a training company. Mm-hmm. You guys go out and you do a lot of hoist rescue training, fluid dynamic. What else do you do?
So, we mostly focus on air rescue is that broad term, but hoist rescue, short haul, water bucket, utility. That's kind of been the main focus for ARS. I mean, back 25 years.
Yeah.
So,
you guys have been doing it a long time. And I say you guys, I'm actually going to drop a name in there. I'm gonna be like, but what about Bob?
Oh, Bob. Yeah.
Wait a minute. That sounds like a movie. But what about Bob? So Bob Cockle had done it for years and years and years.
Years.
And you are taking that position.
I know. When you put it that way, it seems pretty intimidating.
I think I'm going to change it and go back to that Geico commercial. Mike. Guess what day it is?
Oh, the hump day commercial. I haven't heard that one in forever.
Come on, Mike.
It's hump day.
Oh, that's funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know I've worked with Bob in the past. It's actually interesting. We talked about this earlier, but just kind of looking at where I was at with my organization and looking at hoist, and it's like, hey, let's get outside perspective. Let's actually start looking at what's out there. And so I've been working with Bob for a couple years now. I remember sitting in his first class and just like instantly getting hooked with how he taught it, like the safety perspective, that mentality of how often have you been lucky in the past versus how many times were you like, man, we got really lucky there, to the point where I started trying to force myself from an unrealistic outside perspective to look at our program and be like, holy crap, there's like a lot of stuff out there that we can learn and grow from. And from there, I've been talking with Bob back and forth. With him retiring at the end of the year, it's really like, hey, let's get a really great transition with me coming in and with Bob finally hanging up the reins to where we've got that nice handoff, and really, depending on what the customer wants, nothing's really going to look different either. So.
Oh, see, now that was one of our questions coming up. You know what? Let's get right into that then. Like, when you say nothing's going to be different, like, there's, like,
it's unrealistic to say that.
Yeah.
But like, it really depends on what the customer wants. Like, if the customer's like, we're familiar with Bob, that's what we want. It's going to be different faces. It's going to have like that different teaching style that everyone has that we encourage, especially when it works well. But like the materials, the actual foundational training, that stuff's not going to change. That's the same stuff we're going to offer. And really just with, and we'll get into it more later, but we'll be able to add on to that. So if customers want more, they want to look at that expansion with us, then we can offer that. Or if they just want Bob's fluid dynamic hoist stuff that everyone's used to, that will have the same thing.
When you say more, can I dive into that a little more? Can I ask, like, what are we talking about when we ask more? Because, like, so for me, I think of like a lot of different things when I think more. I'm like, you got the medevac stuff, which is kind of the rescue stuff, but then medevac could be a little bit different. You got aerial gunner, you got fast rope, you got rappel. Are you talking like all of that, or what are we talking?
The goal is to bring in more perspective for all these different things and then also reach back out to the organizations in the industry and be like, what do the operators need?
Nice.
Like, that's really the end case. Like, you're going through different safety stuff. You want to be in the right realms of regulations and everything. But at the end of the day, what does the operator need? What does the operator need, and how can they get to it safely and efficiently? And that's what we're always striving for with just that perspective. Making everything safer and more efficient. If we can do those two things, it could be something that no one's ever thought of, and we're bringing in that outside perspective to be like, hey, have you thought of this? Like aerial gunnery, that's usually a pretty niche experience.
It totally is a niche.
But it's funny because there's a great story there too. Like I remember you were talking about your experience training people to ride the hoist that had never done it before.
Yep.
Getting that. What do we teach them? How do we make this safer, more realistic with those expectations with people that they're not really interested in hoist? They just need to ride it to get to work.
Yeah.
And aerial gunnery is kind of that perfect translation for me as well, because on the military side, door gunners are not like full-blown crew chiefs, crew members. They're getting a very snapshot picture of that progression in their training, so that way they can operate guns safely on these military helicopters.
Yeah.
So that even without thinking about the cool, sexy guns and stuff like that, think about how you had to take that snapshot of your training to make it realistic. That's a perspective that you could apply to your training program on your avenue as well.
Yeah.
How do you snapshot that training, make them safe and effective for that mission without making them completely integrated crew members for that one task?
Right on.
So.
Yeah. So you guys are really kind of like vamping up, and
like
I actually, so in what I've seen from ARS, and I forgive my ignorance on this, but most of the stuff that I ever see is all hoist stuff. So I haven't seen, and this is me personally. Like I'm not on everything, so I don't see it all. But what are the other things that maybe let me say it like this: like there's something. Like I'll use long line or short haul or fast rope. Mm-hmm. Maybe that hasn't been in the realm recently, and that's the stuff that you're really trying to dial in and be like, oh, we're bringing it back.
No, absolutely, and it's the customer too, because you're going to have who's usually doing a lot of these search and rescue. It's usually your law enforcement,
Right.
and now they're also adding like fast rope.
Yep.
And so a lot of the physics, a lot of the science behind what we teach it's the same. It translates to whatever you're doing, but then it's also tailoring into that specific mission set so that you can fine tune it, not just experience and like tips and tricks, but also just foundationally, like if you have this knowledge, you can translate it to whatever you're doing with the aircraft.
Nice.
So air rescue systems, most people know us for the hoist training. That's like, yep, that's what we go to for hoist training. That's our thing. But also at the same time, it's really anything we use the umbrella air rescue.
Yep.
And that even translates into like water buckets, being able to drop those, effective on fires, getting those guys in and out with as many bucket drops as quickly as possible. The science is the same, so we're all lumping it all into air rescue.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Man, yeah. Again, everybody's going to see the same, but it's going to be improved.
Yep.
It's expansion. Sorry, expansion. Expansion.
Yeah. Well, and that's expansion because we're always looking for outside perspective.
Yeah.
Because we have to be critical of what we're saying other people need to do, which is try to have that outside perspective to improve your program.
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing constantly, like, hey, let's look at what makes these people successful, or in the unfortunate situation, what did these people have problems with? What did these people have problems with? And then learning from that, and not just like learning about it internally, but actually implementing into training that we can push out so that it makes everyone safer.
I like where you're going with it. I really do. This is awesome, man. All right, so now let me get into this. Is it what is we kind of actually asked this a little bit, like the future of ARS. Some of the things that people might be seeing in the future, like when is that going to happen?
So we're I'm working with Bob a lot this year. We're getting all the instructors a nice time to collaborate, transition, so that way, depending on what the customer wants, it really doesn't look any different. But at the same time, we'll also be pulling all their different experience as well. And we've cast a wide net with experience. It's not just a bunch of old Army guys like me. Like, we're trying to keep some different, new, fresh ideas. And then from there, we'll be able to actually look at what we want to be adding to programs, offering those to customers, and seeing if they want to go further down the rabbit hole with us and see where we end up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So I have this up here, and I should have asked it a little bit earlier ago, but fluid dynamic hoist. What is that? For those that don't know and haven't taken the ARS training, can you explain that?
So there's a lot of great programs out there. Like, there's great instructors. We all have the same goal. We're trying to make people safer.
Facts.
Like, something that got me hooked, and really what I gravitated towards Bob with when I got exposed to his class, just in an audit format, I wasn't flying it with him at the time, was fluid dynamic hoist foundationally focuses on the science. Like, we take the data from the NASA researchers back in the 80s when they were studying brownouts. We take all of that data and we correlate it to the actual foundational scientific knowledge of what's happening underneath the aircraft. What's happening underneath the aircraft on the ground? What's it doing from point A to point B? And how can we use that to our advantage, whether we're doing hoist or short line or we're doing buckets, and using that knowledge as like an extra, that term everyone hates, that extra tool in the toolbox mentality to where I can actually do my job safer.
Right on.
The fluid dynamic hoist focuses on the science because everyone's going to encounter something that they've never thought of.
Yep.
Like, we have these established EPs. We focus on things that we've identified industry-wide as concerns, but everyone's going to come across something that's like, holy crap, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
We're going to be debriefing this for a while after the flight.
Totally.
But with that foundational knowledge, you'll be able to critically think and try to figure out what those weird things are in flight a little bit more efficiently, just because you're getting more of that background knowledge.
Yeah,
So
that's good stuff.
that's really the foundation. Like, people hear fluid dynamic hoist. Okay, that means you hate static. You're always doing dynamic, which in most cases, we are very aggressive with the dynamic maneuvers based off of the science that we've realized. But that's like the vague marketing term for fluid dynamic hoist. It's the science. That's what's important. That's what we want our customers to know, because we'll have customers that we teach them fluid dynamic hoist and they're still doing static all the time, but they understand the physics of what the pros and cons are depending on their environment.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know what? I appreciate you explaining that. And, you know, you made the comment of like tools in the toolbox. Some people hate that term. I love it.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
do. I totally do. And the reason I love it is because there is not a single rescue that I have ever personally been on that's been the same.
No, they're all different.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if I don't have options to use, like I'll say this, instead of tools in the toolbox, I like options.
Option.
I
Yeah,
love having options.
absolutely.
Like I love the fact that, you know, people are going to get training, outside training. Come look at our program.
That's the
Come check
main
it out.
thing I advocate for, because for years I worked with the Utah National Guard. We had and we didn't have any incidents. We had a great program. We felt there's a lot of pride involved.
Yeah.
And then when you get, those are the hardest people with that mentality, be like, hey, consider looking outside, because no, we haven't had any problems. Our program's great. And then when I finally started reaching out, it was like, holy crap, like we could be doing so much better.
Right.
And so, yeah, ARS, we'd love it if you come and train with us, but don't, like, get out there and actually reach out. There's awesome people out there that are providing that training, providing that outside perspective. It's a little different between us versus them and stuff like that, but absolutely try to reach out, try to get that outside perspective. It'll only improve your program, and you may love everything, or you may only love one piece, but that one piece may end up saving someone's life in the future. That's
and
the
that one
important
piece
part.
is the option that I love.
Yeah.
That tool in the toolbox. Okay. I get it. There are people that don't like that, but I love having options. I really
absolutely.
do. You know, I could throw a couple thoughts right off the top of my head is that, you know, tagline versus not tagline, flying away without, you know, or static, and just the scenarios that I have been on personally. I'm like, well, you know what? This is what's going to work best right now based on all the knowledge that I have of everything.
Yeah. And then you're super critical too after the fact too, because then you collaborate with other people, and most of the time it's just very supportive, like, oh yeah, did you think about this and this? And you're like, oh man, that would have been like, and then you start doing some Googling, or you go down some rabbit holes, and you're like, holy crap, there was like a completely different avenue of approach for this type of technical rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It's good stuff, man. I love training. I love people that get out there and really get into it. And like, I'm excited for what you guys are bringing, like, and updating, and the expansion that's happening with you guys. This is exciting.
No, it's super exciting. This is where my passion is too. I love that training piece, and like, you get away from that operational role where you're like really doing all those rescues and helping people out, and so you have to transition into like, hey, I still like helping people that help people. Like, there's still an extreme gratification. Like, hey, I'm gonna, like, that's your rescue. You did the work. You pulled it off. That's awesome. And I got to help out in whatever way that was.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So let's bring up the team. Like,
okay.
Your team, you just said, so you're Army, but you have a bunch of guys that are coming in with a plethora background of knowledge.
Yes.
Dropping in. So we've got yourself, and then we've got Wayne Hefner.
Yep. So Wayne's actually already been working. If you've taken a course recently with Bob, Wayne's been there.
Okay.
So he's a Coast Guard guy. So the jokes are kind of synonymous back
jumper?
and forth. Yeah.
I can say that as a Coastie. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, I can say that.
It hasn't gotten too hostile yet.
Okay.
It'll make sense when you hear the next person. But yeah, there's definitely some varying differences in military banter with that one. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, we'll be transitioning to a lot more water courses as well. So he's bringing in that expertise from that perspective as well.
All right, so your next guy, Cody Berg.
So Cody's actually been with the company for a little bit longer, but not training. He's a Navy guy. So yeah, we're just
Squid.
opening
Got
the
it.
doors. Yeah. He actually
We got you as a
started
grunt.
with,
Okay.
no, he actually started with more interest in like the sonar perspective of the Navy.
Oh,
and so
right
he
on.
also
Okay.
then he transitioned to the rescue side.
Nice.
So he's bringing all of his expertise. He likes to nerd out with the technology and stuff like that. And so he's really our main instructor for the VRS device. He's the one that's been implementing the training for different people when they get that equipment and they want to figure out all the stuff with that. And we're dragging him over to the training side as well to start training not just the VRS, but everything as well.
So VRS, can we touch? Oh, you know what? Let me keep going because you have a few more instructors that are coming.
Yep. So we're hiring one right now.
Okay. Can we disclose, or is it a secret at the moment?
Well, we still have interviews.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're still in the interviewing process.
Nice.
VAI kind of took the priority for this week. Otherwise, we would have had more interviews. And so we're really looking for that person with great experience, but not identical to our experience, to provide that perspective. And then in a couple months from now, we don't have exact numbers, but we'd like to try to add some more people to the team as well. Continue having that diverse perspective to really help improve the program and look at what things we want to start adding and tweaking it as well.
So, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Nice. Very nice. So, all right. So we're not going to name drop anybody.
We don't have a name drop yet.
This brings up a question from one of actually it's at Rescue 3NZ. And they're asking, can you fly the helos? So I'm going to caveat that with an additional question to it is, are you hiring pilots to come in to help that? Is that something that you guys are looking at? Because I know it's not normal in the past for ARS.
No, it's not normal in the past. As of right now, we don't have any pilots on staff. We are looking in the future of adding CFIs to the team.
Right on.
Like there's definite perspective changes as well as just being able to adapt to different customers' needs and stuff like that.
Right on.
Traditionally, most of the time, it's really just the guy in the back walking and talking through the whole thing. So CFIs would be a great option in the future.
Yeah, well, that would be cool. I'm excited to hear you guys and see what comes up for you guys. But that's awesome. The next question I've got out of this, right? So now you've got guys coming in with again a lot of experience and a lot of different elements of throughout their personal careers. So I'm gonna circle back to you as the head dude, the guy that's coming in. So in your personal experience that you've had through your training experience, what are things that stand out to you that may have happened to you that now you can bring to the table?
Oh yeah, I think probably the best one to I'll focus on what I consider to be like my greatest learning moment.
Ooh,
most people call it like a failure because that's what we're doing. We're taking our failures and learning from it.
Yeah.
And through the
what does Dave Weber say? He says failing forward.
Failing forward.
Failing forward.
Strive for failure.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Shout out to Dave Weber. Oh, I love that guy.
No, great presentation. And that's really like the perfect focus because what I consider like my largest training failure also is a huge training opportunity as well, just to learn from it.
Agreed.
I got really, I was thinking like, what's like the biggest event military wise that would make sense for like a medical search and rescue medevac kind of thought process. And I was thinking most people use the term mass cal. Oh yeah, that's
mass casualty.
Mass casualties. Like, okay, that's like the perfect scenario. I was like, well, let's step it up a notch. Let's try to get like 200 to 300 patients involved.
Dang.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Dang, that's a lot. Okay.
So this was
200 to 300 patients.
Yes, this was about 11 to 12 years ago with the Utah National Guard. We were still very focused on like your combat operations. So it was an effort to like, hey, we've got all these different units in the state, and we didn't just reach out to Army. We reached out to the Air Guard as well. We had field artillery out there. We had transportation. We were trying to get as many people involved into this scenario to where it wasn't replicatable anywhere else. And this took about 8 months of coordination, talking to different commanders and command teams from the units to what their roles would be inside this training exercise. We'd actually set up different locations for patient handoffs because we were planning on obviously overburdening our main resource right off the bat.
Yeah.
So we had to actually coordinate different pickups and different drop-offs with the helicopters getting constantly tasked out to the point where everyone wants to focus on like your patient care, but you just have too many. Now you're just shuttling them as quickly as possible and just see which systems would get fatigued and where it would actually collapse and where all the learning points would be involved in that. So
wow,
we got things all set up. We've been working months. All the leadership was talking to each other. We had different medical organizations that were going to handle like the on-field care, or they'd even get collaborated into the actual medevac scenarios just because overburdening the medevac as well and losing birds because you have so many going different places. We had 3 different treatment locations that were simulating different like hospitals or field ambulance or field surgical teams and stuff like that.
No kidding.
So
holy smoke, that's insane.
All this is getting ready to kick off, and I am getting greedy because I want to be part of it. I'm going to be on that aircraft, and I'm going to be moving patients all night.
Okay.
So I thought I had everything facilitated really well to where, okay, I know for a fact this is when it's going to kick off. This is the starting timeline. And then everything after that, we're just going to figure it out. And as we're getting the first call, like I know the trigger point, I know when it's actually kick off, we're flying to our first location to actually start picking up patients. We start getting calls on the radio that we're indexing. We're done. Hey, what's going on? And so, okay, what's going on? We're calling on the radio, and they're like, we have an actual medevac. Like, someone's actually hurt. We're indexing everything. It's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Not something I planned for. Not something that I had a backup plan for. Wasn't even in my mind at the time as a potential,
like,
which is
what
horrible.
What if something actually does happen?
If something actually happens.
Yeah.
And being in a medevac, like, okay, that's our priority. Like, we'll just transition to that. So it was 2 aircraft initially. I wasn't on the lead aircraft. The lead aircraft was with my company commander and some awesome crew. So they're loading up the patient. And as we're landing, we're shutting down, and I'm going to go talk to ops and figure out what happened and kind of be like, okay, is this salvageable? What can we do? And so as our lead aircraft is taking off with the patient, I'm walking into ops and being like, okay, what's going on? And they're like, oh, we had a heart attack. Like we had to actually fly this guy out for a heart attack. And as soon as someone yelled index, all of your patients scattered. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, as soon as they heard you yell index to a bunch of Army folks, yeah, they're gone. Because I had facilitated a transportation company to provide pretty much their entire company as patients.
Oh my gosh.
And as soon as they heard index, yeah, they're going back to their tents. They're going to crash for the night. Like, they're done.
Oh my gosh.
I had 2 of the senior leadership with me because they were wanting to see everything get kicked off. So I go back to the aircraft, and it's a very quiet flight back to our little fob that we had set up. All kind of staring at each other, like just how one simple thing was able to affect such a grand scale training event.
Wow.
And like just thinking like, what could I have done differently? What I should have facilitated this. I got greedy. I wanted to play. Like all these different things are kind of like, holy crap. How could a medevac that's preparing for the unknown not have prepared for the unknown during this training scenario that could kill everything on it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. So let me ask you, like, one, what did you do? How did you debrief that?
So the debrief it got more interesting because when we have some awesome medics on the lead aircraft that picked him up.
Yeah.
As soon as they picked him up and they actually started running vitals, getting him hooked to 12 lead, everything, it wasn't a heart attack.
What?
Yeah, but we had to look at just the contingency plans that we have in place for what that emergency within an emergency. That's another familiar term we've heard.
Yeah,
is like, how do we respond within that type of perspective? Like, do we completely nix the training? Because if it was a real emergency and we didn't know at the time, what's the priorities?
Right.
So
right.
There was a lot of the conversation with leadership, like, okay. If we'd had someone facilitating that was very familiar with all the coordination, i.e. me, like not playing, but also just making sure that training gets executed appropriately to where if these snags pop up, you can identify it and fix it on the fly, then we would have had that sustainability. And of course, all the senior leadership had their meetings. Then they wanted to meet together. I think we finally kind of got everyone on the same page for debriefs at about a month after, but that was kind of the consensus was, hey, we didn't facilitate this. We were just so excited to throw chaos at everyone that we didn't think about any little piece of chaos that could have affected us in the process.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So another question out of that is during your debrief and stuff, is there anything you could have done different? Had you taken yourself and stayed in that oversight position, would you have sent a bird to facilitate that one rescue and then everybody else involved in the full training?
In that specific perspective, just because of my training background, I probably would have done a patient assessment on him first.
Yeah.
And then from there, just based off of talking to the other medic and the assessment they did in the aircraft on the way to the hospital, that would have been pretty easy to turn down and calm everyone down with.
Got it.
To where we probably wouldn't even flown him. Yeah, the gentleman ended up having bronchitis, which caused the chest pain.
Gotcha. Okay.
As soon as someone hears chest pain, like it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and I get that. Like,
yeah.
You know, you got You got to think of the worst.
But
So-
also, yeah, if something serious did happen and someone was actually genuinely pretty hurt, yeah, absolutely. Hey, Chalk One, guess what? You are no longer playing tonight. This is your priority. Take care of it. Do the follow-up. If you get back in time to play, cool, but that's not the priority. And then just rolled with it.
And roll it, and then get everybody else.
Yep.
Because I mean, that is reality.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing. What a great lesson in training that is. Wow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
you want to do the best training possible.
Yeah.
You want to provide like, man, I want this to be like something that everyone learns a great lesson from. They're going to be able to take this away or even make it bigger the next year. But also at the same time, you have to be very critical of your training plan, its execution and follow-up. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting everyone's time at the end of the day. They might get something out of it, but you have to be able to self-analyze it just as much as you're expecting them to self-analyze how they do things with the training you're giving them.
Wow. Man, that's good. I really like that. That's pretty funny. We're going to index. Everybody's going home. Like, wait a minute. Whoa. I just got back. It was a quick thing. All right, let's go. No, everybody's gone. What?
You yelled index to a bunch of Army guys. They're gone.
All right, free time off. That's amazing. Oh, that's funny. Wow. And to backtrack to that 200 people scenario, that's pretty gnarly. That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's a reality as well, especially like I'm going to talk Army wise
Mm-hmm.
with, you see war movies, you see and hear debriefs of stuff that have happened like in a wartime zone. That's not an uncommon scenario that could happen.
And
So-
it's something that people are starting to think about more
Yeah.
now. But yeah, that's never been like something that like we've done in the past. Like if you look at the Army's kind of heritage in Vietnam, that's what it was. It was trying to just get as many people off the battlefield as possible and then try to get them to the next level of care. But it was really just how many people can you fit?
Yeah.
That was their thought process.
Wow. Dang, dude.
Yeah. And it can transition to that rather quickly without people realizing it, and then it creates those shortfalls in how they train for it. Because if you're a civilian, I gotta say this because I flew civilian wise, but if you've got like two providers just taking care of one patient, like providing that best possible care and everything's nice and comfortable and controlled.
Yeah.
But okay, now let's just flip that and then times it by 10. What does that look like?
Dude, then it's all triage and go.
Triage, yeah. It's a lot of
like
triage.
who's the worst?
Yeah.
You're the deceased. Boop, tagged. You're green. Yeah, you're gonna go over there. Yeah, and then okay, we need to take you right now. You're definitely right now.
Yeah, it's one of those conversations nobody likes talking about, but there definitely needs to be conversations of what your training plan looks like. Are you not just like training wise prepared for that, but mentally prepared for that?
So it brings up a great conversation, and the first thing I think about is like 9/11.
Yeah.
So Twin Towers fall, and it was like it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And there was so much learned from that people, and I use a generalize the word people, but they were like, oh shoot, we weren't actually prepared for that.
No.
At the same time, like you're talking about, you're going in, you're drilling, you're coming up with these scenarios to do this. And I was actually just talking today with some guys down in Texas, and they do the SARX down here in Texas, and they similar to that where they have all these different scenarios set up, but it's okay. And then when it actually hits, you're like, oh, we didn't think about that. And
you'll never account for all of it. There's no way.
Right.
But it's just that
Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
The entire city's underwater. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would've thought?
Yeah.
Or even just recently, just this last winter, the new hurricane coming in, and just seeing how North Carolina is trying to respond and actually
devastated.
Adapt and deal with it.
Right.
You can't prepare for everything.
Nope.
But it's always trying to have that mentality of like, okay, let's try to get there.
Yeah.
I've
trained this.
Yes.
And this works here. Let's go. What is it? Tools in the toolbox.
Tools in the
Options. I like options.
Yeah. You give yourself more options because the more you try to prepare for it, the more you'll be ready for it. You're never going to perfect it.
Right.
But you're at least trying to give yourself as much of an advantage as possible in these impossible scenarios.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like talking training with you right now. Do you got any more? Any more stand out to you? I'm gonna ask a funny one here in a minute, but
okay. Yeah, that's more like on a bigger scale thing. It's also, I think I really stress communication because I think communication failure can be fatal.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's a common thing. And it's also having to have that perspective of your student. Because I remember I was on a progression flight. We had a newer crew chief, going through progression with him, getting him used to stuff. Felt I had a pretty good idea where his head was at and stuff like that. And we go and land somewhere in Utah. There's a cave system called Nutty Putty Cave System. It's fairly popular in Utah just because it back in the day was such a technically advanced entry and exit just into the cave system that we unfortunately had someone get stuck there, and they weren't ever actually able to recover his body. So they actually ended up cementing over the entrance just because when it happened, there was no way to actually rescue him.
Wow.
So we went and landed at that location just to kind of talk about like the story there and how search and rescue was trying to work through it. And you can do a lot on comms. There's only so much you can do off comms. This was a goggle flight. It was pitch black. And I remember saying, okay, we're gonna hop out. You can go check out the plaque. They have the commemorative plaque there that you can read and see that, and then hop back in. We landed with the nose facing the plaque. So it was like, okay, hop out. We'll walk around and go check it out.
Yeah.
And so he unplugs, he hops out, and he starts walking right towards the nose. And in the Black Hawk, just because of how that tilt rotor system's designed, certain aircraft you can approach from the nose, but the Black Hawk can actually go down 4 feet in the front.
Right. Oh,
so
yeah.
We never approach from the front or the back in the Black Hawk. It's always just side to side. And so he starts walking right towards the nose, and I grab him and I shine my flashlight kind of in his face to get his attention, and then I shine it sideways out the sides of the aircraft, and I point my flashlight at the tip path. It's to and I tell him, like, watch the tip path, walk out, and then walk around.
Okay.
I did all this with a flashlight, no words.
Okay.
He nods at me and looks, and so I'm testing his understanding of my instruction to see if he continues walking towards the nose or toward the side.
Yeah.
And he starts walking the right direction. I'm like, okay, perfect. And he keeps walking.
So he didn't turn?
He did not turn.
He didn't turn.
He just kept walking. And so I'm like, where's he going? And even my pilot's like, where is he going? Because it's just a field out there, and he just keeps walking that direction. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it like 2 minutes, and then I'll go get him. And my pilot's like, okay. And I'm like shining my flashlight at him. And he's finally kind of turns around, sees the flashlight, comes back, walks in, plugs back in. I'm like, where were you going? He's like, oh, I thought you were pissed at me, because I grabbed him pretty aggressively as he walked his nose.
Yeah, okay.
And so this was a newer gentleman, not very used to aviation. He's like, oh, I thought you were going to take me out and smoke me out on that field and make me do push-ups or something. I was like, I have never done that before, and I don't think I ever will do that. No. He's like, oh, you just seemed really mad when you grabbed me. I was like, well, I didn't want you to walk that way, but no,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go fly some more. And it's
Oh
that
my
perspective. It's trying to have like that perspective, like, hey, this guy's used to like very regimental, traditional army. If I mess up, I'm doing push-ups. There's no like forgiving mentality to where I'm trying to learn and be safe at this. So
Yeah.
it's getting that perspective to better understand that individual on a training basis, to where like, okay, using that perspective, I can work on how I'll deliver this stuff to where everyone's on the same page.
Right on.
Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh,
If I did, yeah, he might have just kept walking. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. All right. Again, I talking training wise, you got me going down a rabbit hole right now. So I want to hear more. And the reason I want to hear more is because this is to emphasize like what you're bringing to the table
Yeah.
to ARS. So like your experience and stuff, like this is what, from what I've seen myself in this industry, is people that are still doing the job, agencies that are still doing the job. They're looking for guys like you that have the experience, that have been on something, training, actual.
Yeah.
So like, oh yeah, he actually did this. He's not just saying it
Yeah.
and hasn't actually done it. He's actually done this. So let's
Well,
go one more training. Can
okay.
you give me one more training?
I can give you one more training.
All right, I like this.
So, I'll kind of go back to when I was really looking at expanding my local programs, hoist training specifically. And that's when I started reaching out, started looking at what was out there and not just focusing just within the Army. And that's when we started collaborating with tons of different organizations, looking at what they were successful with. And a lot of them were saying the same thing, like, oh, hey, you should be looking at outside training.
Nice.
Army, not really how they do business.
Yeah, totally.
So
they're the types, and I'm throwing the Army right under the bus here, okay?
I do not represent the United States
no,
Army.
You do not. You do not.
This
Absolutely
is my
not.
opinion.
But this is the funniest thing that I ever saw is that like somebody had a dynamic type rollout or something similar, and it was, you know what, we're going to add 3 more carabiners to the hook. And I remember
that. That
dude,
was a real thing.
It was an absolutely real thing, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like it was. Yeah, so I'm gonna pick. I will leave it right there. But it was kind of funny to me. I'm like, "That's your solution."
I remember seeing that picture when it was pushed out, and I was like, "Oh, they don't understand.
Yeah, no,
they don't understand the problem."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
They
it went
don't
like
have
all
that
Army
perspective.
wise.
Yeah.
Like the entire Army all of a sudden had to adopt this. Hey, we're gonna go to like 3 carabiners.
The
and one
3
of them,
carabiner buddy system. Yeah.
2's going in the hook, and then 1's going in the eyelet down here, and you got to connect all of them. And you're
And just don't sideload any of them, even though that's physically impossible.
right, yeah. You're like, what?
What is going on? Yeah.
I'm glad we can talk about this and have a little laugh. And
Yeah.
I think it was squashed and changed like within a couple months right after it came out.
And that's when they started kind of pushing out like different devices because they were looking at the new hook as well. Luckily now most Army units you talk to, they are running like the auto lock and stuff like that.
Great.
Historically that's when they started looking at like the map rings just because the width of that would prevent it.
Yep.
Or looking at the 2-up. That's really where the 2-up kind of is like, oh hey, this is a thought process. This will be, even if you've got like the older generation hooks, this should help prevent it. I never say it's impossible just because we never know. There's no absolute, but it's designed to prevent that scenario, stuff like that.
It's cool.
But my training store would be kind of getting more Army people on the same page with, hey, my way's not the best way, but also at the same time, start thinking about collaborating and looking for that outside perspective. Because, and I'm not saying it's everyone. I'm saying there's been a history of organizations that have ran really well. They have great programs, and they have absolutely no desire to change them because change is uncomfortable.
Right.
And this is kind of the same mentality that we're taking to ARS as well. Is hey, I always have 3 rules. And these are our 3 rules with ARS. It's the same 3 rules I was working with these units that were adverse to change or even looking at change. Is like you never discredit your experience because you've got tons of experience in what you've done, and obviously you've been doing it well, especially if you have successful programs.
Yeah.
You never discredit your own experience because likewise you've probably had really good success with it. You've done really great things with it, but at the same time, you always assume there's a better way to do something. So that way, if you've got differing opinions of like one specific thing, like dynamic rollout, how are you going to handle that?
Yeah.
Well, this is what we did to fix the problem. It works every time. That's our solution. Well, we done it this way. This is how we fixed it. This is the solution. Okay, cool. Let's just assume there's a better way. Okay. It's kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
Because people are very prideful of their programs, especially when they have good ones. It's not a bash on their program. I'm not saying, oh, your program's unsafe. But if you can have that bridging the gap of assuming there's a better way to do that, then more people are open to like, okay, my way may not be the best way.
Yeah.
And we're always going to have that opinion. Like a year from now, there may be a bunch of different things that we've decided to be adaptable about because we're always assuming there's a better way.
That's good. Always keep learning.
Always keep learning.
Always keep learning. If you're not learning anymore, then it's time to hang it up. It's time to land the plane.
Yep.
Land the helicopter.
Land the helicopter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to walk away. And I truly mean that. And it's time to hang it up for a little bit. So be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, keep learning. Always keep learning.
Always keep learning. Always try to make better yourself.
Yeah.
Some people will be doing it faster or slower than others, but on a personal level, when you're trying to gauge yourself, which is the most important way to do it, that way, if you're improving, whether it's a ton quickly or it's taking a couple of years, that self-improvement, that's what you're looking for.
Dude, that's fantastic. Mike, I want to talk something else. ARS makes a ton of gear. ton of equipment.
Yes.
Can you touch on that a little bit as far as like is that still part of the expansion? Are you guys looking at new equipment, more equipment?
Yep, I've got tons of ideas, and we're collaborating with our other instructors. We want all of our ideas to pull them together, but also bouncing that back on the folks in the field, talking to those operators, like what makes their job easier, what makes it safer, what makes it more efficient. Those are all the things that we'll be focusing on with equipment.
Cool.
Vita is our new parent company.
Yep,
We've got the
yep.
VRS, the
Okay.
self-stabilizing device. Great technology involved with how that device is actually able to stabilize in flight. And we will be continuing to look at new technology, which makes us safer and more efficient.
Yep.
Whether that's through changes to the VRS or changes to our existing equipment, who knows what the future holds, but we're going to continue to be adaptable and look at, hey, how do we get the best technology, the best equipment, and the best training to our customers so that they're safer and more efficient. That's the main focus that we're trying to maintain our adaptability for, so that way everyone comes home.
Dude, awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. I like to hear that. I'm really excited to hear what you're bringing to the table for ARS. The guys that you're bringing on, the experience that comes with, I think it's great. So I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we'll close this out. But
All right.
what offering? I want you to give a piece of advice, and what do you bring into the new generation of rescue operators out there, and what advice would you give them?
So I'll kind of focus more on the second question, because I think that's the most important, is
Okay.
like, what should the new generation be thinking about? Because there's the sexy rescue stuff, like the stuff that makes them passionate about this. Start thinking about all the other stuff that your organizations need to be successful. There's a ton of stuff that usually gets neglected or forgotten about because we focus so much on the sexy stuff that, hey, like, we need to start thinking about these different training schedules, or hey, we actually need to start thinking about this different equipment and stuff like that. Those are all the neglected stuff that they kind of push off as admin work, but it's equally important to the success of your organization.
Right.
And that really the second part of it, the advice I'd give people, is start thinking about, and it's weird to say this to the next generation, but start thinking about the next generation as well. I personally experienced this, having a hard time thinking about, hey, who's going to replace me? Like, that should always be your mentality of, hey, even if you're brand new to search and rescue or whatever type of organization you're in, start thinking about who's going to replace me. How can I set them up for success?
Nice. Yeah.
Because it really forces two things. It forces like ideas not to just stay hidden in the back of your head that
Yep.
only you know, but also start thinking about, hey, why am I here? Okay, well, these were the reasons that I got hooked into it. I should be pushing this out to as many people as possible, because then you'll find those like-minded people that have that passion and that strive for this type of mission set. And then they'll be successful as well, because you'll be able to help kind of guide them on. And that's really hard for people when they're brand new to even think about. I had the same problem too, but always be thinking about who's going to replace you. How can you set them up for success?
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm so happy you came on to join me today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's VERTICON, dude.
Yeah.
I freaking love this, and we get to do this in person. I'm very
Yeah,
excited. I'm
that's
excited to
absolutely.
see what you guys do with ARS and the upcoming.
Well, we're excited as well.
Yeah, I wish you the best. Absolutely, 100%. This gives everybody out there a way to hear it directly from you, directly from ARS. This is what's up and coming. You're taking over.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Bob, I wish you the best in retirement, brother.
Oh, man. What about Bob?
What about Bob? He's going into retirement. He's going to enjoy life, and he'll be kicking his feet up with a nice drink and a cigar. At least that's what I have visioned in my head, okay?
Oh, I'll still bug him every once in a while.
As you should. Right on. Well, is there anybody else you want to shout out while you're here?
Anybody else? No, it's been awesome. If I start going through my list, it's so many people. And
Right
I
on,
haven't, and I
okay.
haven't even been through the whole place yet. I don't know if I will be able to.
No, it's all right.
But no, definitely, like, if you can get that outside perspective, we'd love it to be with us. But at least start looking at those options. It's really the best thing you can do to make your program safer.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, you have a great rest of the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, likewise.
Right on. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. ARS Rescue Systems was founded in the early 2000s as an active search and rescue organization, providing direct mission response while also establishing an in-house training school. Their expertise expanded beyond search and rescue, offering specialized training in tactical insertion and extraction for law enforcement. As they developed customized gear to meet their unique operational needs, ARS also launched the Urban Helicopter Operations course in Southern Oregon, designed to train rooftop insertion and extractions using helicopters, further advancing their role in the aviation-based rescue and tactical operations. Today, ARS continues to push the boundaries of innovation. Their ecosystem of solutions significantly enhances the capability, safety, and efficiency of search and rescue hoist operations, helping to protect every mission. Backed by real-world knowledge and experience, the ARS team employs new techniques, progressive training concepts, and cutting-edge equipment to help organizations achieve their goals with precision and confidence. You can learn more about ARS by going to airrescuesystems.com.